Hello, friends. It's Christmas time. I'm Neil Christmas with you right now, and as usual, I invite you to an adventure of free thinking and questioning everything that we've been taught. Today's hot topic is on debates on science and religion, or to better say, why those debates seem stale, unproductive, out of new ideas, and go on in endless circles. Today's guest is Miss Elena Im, a debate speaker and author of System Outlook and the recently released book Science and Religion Can Coexist. Why debates between science and religion don't go anywhere? It seems that people have been debating the same topics for hundreds of years. The same ideas are going in circles, and no reconciliation or compromise is possible between the opposing views. For instance, a major topic of debate is the existence of God. Does God exist or not? It seems like people endlessly argue about that, but it's hard to see any new ideas that would be convincible enough to take one side or another. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure, absolutely I can. The question is, if God exists, it's like very often is not appropriate, just because people do not define first what is God. So let's think, what kind of God exists? We have thousands of religions that define God totally differently. So what kind of God? Is it Allah? Is it Christ? Is it Trinity? Is it absolute? Is it Yahweh? Is it one of Greek gods or one of Indian gods? So what do you mean? Or maybe you mean that bearded guy that is sitting somewhere in the clouds and who's looking at people and like reading their minds and what they try to hide. It's irrelevant. So it's irrelevant to argue about anything before defining what actually you argue.
All right. Well, so religious people, they tend to only focus on what they've been taught. So, people are generally, narrow-minded by nature, and they just focus on, the dogmas that were presented to them. Some of these people, they've never had a chance to research. They just heard something. They say, oh, wow, it sounds good. So they just go with it. But the system that you're describing, how can it bridge all of these different ideas that people have throughout all these different religions to show them one common truth?
The system outlook that actually allows to bridge ideas simply offers us to understand that everything is based on axiom that everything in our universe is either a system or part of a system. It's a very deep statement that requires some contemplation. But look for a second. What is not a system? Is elephant a system? Yes. Is a plane system? Yes. Is a planet system? Yes. Is your body system? Absolutely. Is your room where you're sitting right now is also a system? Or if right now you're listening radio, your radio system as well as your relationship is also a system, because it is comprised at least of two people. But there is a new way of thinking, of the new way of perception. We're ready to this perception just because our science has developed to the point when we know that everything is comprised of molecules, atoms, quantums, and on the other hand, we know that everything is like it's endless universe. We're like a lot of galaxies, and we even don't know everything, and it doesn't matter. So the point is, the moment when we understand that that is a system information universe, we can take this approach to any field. From this perspective, religion is also a system, and science is also a system. And religion and science are both information systems because they describe one or another way, but they describe the objective reality.
Well, the hardest thing that I'm finding out is that, religions tend to focus on what they call truth. And truth is one of the hardest things to define because truth to me is very subjective. All right, now, as you mentioned with systems, yes, a system is a structure that has order, and for that system to work, it has to have some sort of truth in it. It has to have unity. So how would System Outlook and this wonderful notion of system and information that you are talking about. How could that help these different religions to see that the same things that they're talking about, they're just realizing it in different ways?
I would separate this question in two. So first we talk about the truth. It's true that it's really difficult for people to agree on definition of truth, simply because when they start talking about the truth, they talk from perspective of different systems that don't even merge, but the systems that don't even cross. For instance, the truth of Christianity would be Christ. The truth of Judaism would be God as a law. The truth of another religion can be something else. The same way like the truth of natural and physical sciences would be physical laws. They're defined by formulas. Your truth will be based on the content of your memory and your experiences. My truth, like personal, if to talk about personal, the truth of my system, the system of my memory, will be based on my personal experiences and on my memory, and it can be totally different. But the moment when we talk about the absolute truth, it has to be single, the same way as the idea of God. And system outlook allows us to give the definition of truth that can be acceptable for any system, just because that is a system reality. And we can talk about such idea like the truth from perspective of system informational approach. And from that perspective, truth is the law of a system or the logic of a system that organizes elements of a system in a specific order. So just notice that all systems consist of elements that are organized in an order, that are logically organized, that are not just randomly, taken into one vessel or something. For instance, the system of state is comprised of millions of elements that are citizens, for instance, right?
Yes.
And all citizens are organized by constitution. And constitution is the logic of a system state, right? Because constitution tells everyone what we can do and what we cannot do. It's quite logical, right?
Absolutely.
Or for instance, like look at your body. And we all know that our body is comprised of billions of cells. And all those cells, they're similar to citizens of a state. They perform different functions, right? The cell's blood, very different from your skin cells, right? And so on. And each cell performs a specific function and works together in harmony with all the other cells. And constitution for your body that defines the roles of each cell would be DNA. And that is like for everything. Take a vacuum cleaner. Vacuum cleaner has an instruction, right? That defines the function of vacuum cleaner, that tells you how to use it. And I'll just say them from another perspective, all elements of vacuum cleaner or all details of vacuum cleaner, they're also organized in specific order, not randomly. If they were stuck together randomly, you probably would never be able to vacuum your carpet, right?
That is so true.
And it's like it's your homework. Just look at everything you can see around you from this perspective. And you will see that there is no such stuff like random system. It's nonsense. All systems have function or logic or goal, if you wish, it's synonyms, and it's simply like new way of looking at all things.
Well, that is a very interesting way of explaining how systems work, and I think everyone should be able to hear that, because a lot of people do not think of things as systems. They are not into that thinking. They just think of the specific beliefs that they have, and that's what they're just focused on.
It's not their fault. We were not taught that. It's less than 100 years that we started to develop such disciplines like system information disciplines, because that is foundation of all this technology, especially all this computer technology.
So basically you're saying technology has helped us understand more about reality of what's going on.
Originally, originally my education was system information technology, the theory of system information technology. But that was like a quarter of a century back when we didn't have computers in the store. So it was just a theory. But the idea was really interesting, that everything is a system. And then I got really a thought that was very fascinating to me. So we cannot invent anything that is not in our memory, that does not reflect our own structure, the structure of our mind. And then I just thought, okay, but why, if system everywhere and it's like everything, so it's supposed to be system the same concept should be applicable to such vague ideas like God or truth or relationship or love. And if people say it's impossible to understand God, okay, let's be just clear, it was impossible. Or just first of all, let's define what you mean when you say understand.
Well, this is a very important thing that I just heard you said, God. It seems like no one knows what God is. Every religion, every different type of spiritual movement may have a different vision of what God is. But God cannot be a Christian God or a Muslim God or a Hindu God. There has to be one sort of oneness. And that's the challenging thing, is defining what God is. Now, with your wonderful knowledge into system informations, what do you define as God?
Okay, so again, we face the necessity of definitions. So by definition, God's supposed to be single, at least, right? Single, and has to be truthful. And truth supposed to be single, and also supposed to be truthful, or means objective and independent of all our opinions. So do you remember that famous quote of Mahatma Gandhi, that there is no God higher than truth? Do you remember that?
Yes, that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes.
And let's think about that. For instance, when people say that everyone has his or her own truth, or just truth can be whatever, it's simply illogical, because that is against the definition of what truth is, just against the meaning, initial meaning of the truth. And when we compare the initial idea of God, not just definition of God, but the initial idea of God, that God is as the creator of everything, must be objective and independent of whatever we think. And the truth is supposed to be objective and independent of whatever we think. So it doesn't require too much education just to get to simple stuff. It just requires simple common sense and open mind. And let's say some desire to question whatever we have, and desire to be unbiased. So from this perspective, just look, God and truth are synonyms. But why it's so difficult for people to, let's say, to swallow this idea that God and truth are the same stuff? Just because truth is more abstract.
Well, I would say this. People are basically taught to not seek the truth. They're basically taught to listen to what the words that we're saying. This is true. Nothing else outside of this is true. This is what you must believe. So to me, those systems are deceptive systems, because it doesn't allow people to find answers that are spread out all across the globe. So that definition of truth and God, that was very wonderfully said. I thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. And
But let me disagree with you about like deceptive systems.
okay.
And let me explain, just because we cannot look through history and say that religious systems were deceptive. It would be disrespectful, and that would be not logically correct. Just because for thousands of years, religious systems were just systems, like information systems, that allowed people to explain what is in a certain way. There were no science. There were no science at all. And like our psyche, our perception just needs certainty. Needs certainty, needs some structure in order we could simply act in this reality. Until you understand where you are, what can you do? You cannot do anything. Our mind creates some explanations where you are, where I am, or where we are, in order simply to react, in order simply to be safe. Just imagine if you're thrown into jungle and you have never been there. Probably you would feel very uncomfortable, right? Just because there's so many new sounds, and I saw jungles only in cartoon, or maybe like in some movies. But just imagine yourself, you're alone in jungle and you just hear and something strange, and it's like getting dark and you don't understand anything. How would be that? And just imagine just imagine a person who lived 1,000 years ago somewhere. It doesn't matter where. In Europe, in America, or maybe in Asia. People needed some explanations of this reality, of seasons, of, of all this unfairness. And they didn't have much information. They didn't have all these sciences that we have today.
Right, I see what you're saying, but
yes.
what I'm meaning is, I understand in the past, there was not information, things were limited, but in today's world, there tends to be deceptive systems where, an example, in Christianity, the faith healers, if you send us money and you support our cause, we can pray by faith. God will get you a Mercedes-Benz, or God will get you, whatever you want, To me, that's deceptive because it's a system of generating money. And the other part of it is like in Islam, it's, said that it's a religion of peace. It's a religion of love, which it is. It has a lot of beautiful, words and moments, a lot of good things in Islam. But if you try to leave the religion in an Islamic country, it's death. So what kind of system is going to kill you for disagreeing with, the dogmas of that system? So it just seems to me that people and religions they focus more on dogmas than on the core essence of the truth, the common truth that bonds us all.
You're absolutely right. But, here is one point. Again, it's about definitions. Just because when people talk about religion, they do not define what religion is. But look, we use the same word, religion. But on one hand, religion is a system of beliefs. And it's totally like innocent. You can believe in whatever you want. You can believe in extraterrestrials, and you can just go to, maybe to your city hall, and you can register another like extraterrestrial system, religious system, or whatever you can call it. And okay, just create your altar, create your temple, go there, and you can pray or worship whoever you want. Until your religious beliefs becomes a political organization. And here's a totally different definition of the word religion. The moment people make out of any beliefs a religious organization, or better to say, when people build around any beliefs or around any saint or teacher or whoever it is, like let's say a spiritual figure or political figure, the moment they build around that organization, a political organization is a system, as a biological system, simply needs food to survive. It needs, like each system, biological or not biological, systems need energy to survive, and systems need safety. So, for a lion in jungle, lion will kill those who are supposed to be lion's food. And it's not lion's fault. That is just his food. But when we talk about political organization, excuse me, people are with their money. People are food for any political organization with their money. And there is no need to fight against them. It's important just to understand that. And just to simply understand that whom you're going to feed with your money is the story. But right now we're so well educated, we have so much knowledge, so much information, that we are able, especially here in America, we are able to choose that organization that is going to be, the organization whom we allow to enchant us with whatever beliefs this organization is going to offer.
That is absolutely wonderfully said. I really like that.
It can be religious organizations, it can be Republicans or Democrats or whatever you like. But do not confuse religious beliefs with religious organizations. And don't blame believers in whatever these political religious organizations commit. So let's separate these billions of good, peaceful Muslims who worship God and call their God Allah and just do whatever their worshiping requires to do, from extremists. It's totally different stuff. And as normal political organization, doesn't matter if it's Muslim or Christians or whatever, just you name it. Each political organization will brainwash people who come into there. Of course they will tell them, we are only the one who owns the truth. We are only right.
So it's a power and control.
Sure, exactly. It's just politics. It's politics. Okay. And it's normal. It's not the way to, there's no need to blame organizations for that. It's their nature.
Okay. Well, this is the other question. Is debaters don't look for the truth because, when we've had debates among, different faiths and, science and faith people. But, it seems like none of them are looking for the truth. They'd rather convert others into their beliefs, but they are not ready to question the simple logic of their own ideas. Generally, some of these debaters are not unbiased. They're very biased towards their perception. So
it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Just because, again, let's understand our perception. Our perception is also a system. It's information system. We are filled with certain information. And this information, inside of, each of us, is structured a certain way. What is belief? Belief simply is our vision of how things should be. And how do we get to this idea? Let's say that we all have very different ideas about what's right and what's wrong. How do we get to these ideas that create this, I would say, the stale structure in our mind that's very difficult to change? We don't get these ideas right away. These ideas are based on all experiences we have, on all information we absorbed and then digested. And if something repeated in our life many times, we start believe that the things are this way. Let's say, for instance, let's say that you were married 5 times. And all 5 times you got spouses who cheated on you. It happens time to time. So after these 5 times, it's quite possible that you would believe that all men or all women are liars.
Absolutely.
But is it true? No. That is just generalization that your mind made. Just on that experiences that you had. There's billions of other men and women who are honest and who don't cheat. So They're like, if you're like open-minded person and you're ready to critically look, or if you're ready, let's say, just to critically evaluate the content of your memory, you would say, hey, the truth is, I didn't have yet an experience of great love. But it doesn't mean that there is no such experience, or it doesn't mean that there are no people who don't cheat. You see, it's simply separating like my own experiences and beliefs from objective reality. And it's rather to say that, well, I know just only part of this reality, but what I know is not all reality. It is not this way, until we can write a formula that would be perfect and complete for everything within a certain system. Does it make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That absolutely makes sense. And I want to thank you for, just pointing that out. That's just very good. Now, earlier you talked about, system outlook. And it is a new system information theory of everything that allows reconciliation of science and religion, as well as different religious ideas. That is a really big claim that you're making. And
yes, it's a really big claim.
So how actually would that be possible? I mean, science and religion, they're kind of hardcore and just dug in, they're just like lost.
I understand. Look. It seems impossible, like from the first sight, when we talk about religion, we like immediately see maybe like religious temples or buildings, or like worshiping practices, or maybe some idols or icons, or I don't know, whatever images you have in your mind when someone says the word religion, and what images you have in your mind when someone says the word science. Maybe immediately you can see some telescope, or some, I don't know, what else can be. Maybe some specific machines. I don't know. Or maybe the picture of the portrait of a Newton or Einstein. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But the moment when we understand that religion or religions, as well as science or sciences, are information systems. So simply systems of knowledge that are filled with information that describe the same objective reality, because objective reality is reality that exists independently from our perception, from our senses, from our feelings.
Today we've been talking to Elena Im, author of System Outlook and the new book, Yes, Science and Religion Can Coexist. Elena, how can our audience find your work?
Neil, I have today a gift for everyone who is listening to us. That is my new 1-hour CD that everyone can download for free from my site, scienceandreligioncoexist.com. I repeat the name of my site. This is scienceandreligioncoexist.com. I hope you can enjoy this CD and connect to us on Facebook at System Outlook page. Thank you.
Next time we'll be discussing the essence of God. That is a very important topic, and we look forward for everyone to tune in to listen to our discussion. And you have a wonderful day. This is Neil Christmas. Thank you very much, and we await Christmas time once again.